Hi, I wanted to welcome you to week 2 and go over a few things that you will need to submit as assignments this week, give you a little bit more detail about what is all involved for this week. In the class, we are looking at standards and best practice in literacy instruction. And so all of our readings for the week are going to revolve around um, standards, both the Common Core State standards and standards of literacy professionals in the field. So, what elementary, middle school teachers should be able to do when they teach reading and writing instruction in the classroom. And then also what those best practices look like according to the literature. So, when you come into this module after you've downloaded your checklist and watched the video, the first thing you're going to need to do then is your readings. And so you have 4 readings for this week. I went ahead and uploaded a PDF of the first reading from your textbook from the Brock text in case you needed to um, read the text online because your textbook hasn't arrived yet. Once you've completed the 4 readings, you're then going to complete your reading response and upload it under Reading Response 1. And so if we look at the reading response document very briefly, a reading response has 3 steps, and these are the same 3 steps you're going to do every week with your readings. The first one, step 1, is completing a reading response activity after reading the assigned readings for the week. So if you have more than one article assigned, you're going to synthesize across all the readings for step 1. I have provided for you under step 1 options 23 options for you to use in your step 1 response. If I was going to complete my reading response on the readings for this week, and let's say I chose option 4, write about 3 things I wish the author would clarify, I would pick one thing from 3 of the readings that I wish the author would clarify, and I would explain what those 3 things were in my step 1. For step 2, I would then write 2 paragraphs making connections across all of my readings, so including all 4 readings. So what similarities do I see showing up across all of these texts? What do these authors keep getting back to as pertinent information? And then step 3, I'm going to think about what I chose for step 1, the 3 things I wish the author would clarify, and think about that through the eyes of a teacher. So if I assigned that as an option for my students to do in my classroom, would they be successful in doing it and why? And if they were not successful, how could I modify the activity to adjust it for younger or older students? So for example, I taught middle school. I think that my middle school 7th and 8th graders would be able to tell me what they think the author should clarify in a reading, that they would be able to do this. However, if I was teaching kindergarten, I don't know if my students would be able to write out that individually, and so I would need to modify the instruction. So that's your reading response, and these directions again will guide you for the entire semester. After you complete your reading response, you then need to complete your teaching case analysis. So you have a teaching case provided for you. You have one on Bagley Elementary School, and these are both from Pennsylvania. And you have another one on Morningside Elementary School. These are both literacy classrooms, or ELA classrooms. And so what you're going to do with these cases is read the cases and then go back into the literature that you just read and identify where you see best practice showing up. So where do you see pieces of Allington's text showing in the best practices that he discusses? Where do you see best practices in the Brock text showing up if they show up in these particular cases? Where do you see the IRA guidelines for implementation of Common Core State standards showing up? So you're going to take the readings. You're also going to look at the IRA standards for elementary, middle school teachers. There's also, I included here for you as well, this is the middle school and high school reading teacher. for standard role 4. Role 3 is the middle and high school content classroom teacher. And role 2 is the pre-K and elementary classroom teacher. So I want you to look at these documents as well according to the grade level for the teaching cases. So looking at the one that's appropriate, and use these in your analysis as well. Once you've analyzed your teaching case and you've identified where best practice is showing up and written that in a couple of paragraphs, you're going to go into your PLC folder and you're going to go into the discussion board labeled Module 2. You're going to post your initial discussion, and then you're going to respond to your colleagues. So the initial discussion needs to be posted by Thursday night, and then your responses to your colleagues by Sunday. So in Module 2, you each have a discussion folder for your PLCs. And you're going to have a PLC folder in each of the modules where you have your PLC work that you will be doing. Once you've completed that, if you go back into your PLC folder, you have a PLC pre-journal reflection that you're going to upload for your PLC group. And this is an individual assignment. So what I'm wanting you to do is, first of all, make sure you read the guidelines for your pre and post journal entries. You have your rubric here, and this is how I'm going to grade you on your reflection. And then you also have the schedule of readings, task, and journal reflection questions that you need to complete in the different modules. So before you get into your book and you do any reading at all, I want you to complete a pre-reflection journal entry. And the idea of this journal entry is to elicit images of your vision of disciplinary literacy instruction in your classroom for that given content area. You might be saying, what is disciplinary literacy? Once you've read the IRA Common Core Guidelines document, it discusses disciplinary literacy within that document, and then the Brock text talks a little bit about disciplinary literacy in Chapter 2, but that entire text is on disciplinary literacy. You should have a basic understanding, an initial understanding of disciplinary literacy instruction. We're going to dive into disciplinary literacy more in detail as we go through the semester. So right now, you don't have to have a complete understanding, but just a basic general idea is fine. I'm going to want you then to answer the 3 questions about your vision of what you see in your classroom. So what do you see, feel, hear when you walk around your classroom for ELA, for science, for social studies, or math, depending on what book you are assigned? And how is the classroom organized to support disciplinary literacy instruction? When you think about disciplinary literacy in your class, what are you doing? What is your role and why? And then what are your students doing in the classroom, and explain that. So right now, I'm not going to be taking off points for correctness for disciplinary literacy. This is really just a pre-reflection for you to start thinking about ideas related to disciplinary literacy instruction. By the end of your PLC experience, you will have a much more deeper understanding of disciplinary literacy instruction through the PLC book, but then also additional readings we have in class. So you will complete your journal reflection, and you will post that in your journal link under the PLC pre-journal reflection for your PLC folder. I will also upload for this particular module the list of PLC members for each of the books, and that'll be a Word document that you need to look at as well before getting started on that PLC pre-reflection journal. The final assignment you have for this week is your written conversation, and this will be through the blog tool like it was last week. You have 2 questions posed. What does the literature say on effective literacy teaching? And then what did you learn from analyzing the teachers in the 2 schools? And so you will again comment and make sure that you continue to add to the conversation for the week. So please do not forget about office hours on Thursday. If you have questions about assignments as you're working, feel free to stop by office hours and I'd be happy to assist you. Thank you.